Hi, it's Tomasz Szyliński here. In today's episode of Talk with Masters, I had an opportunity to talk with amazing Simeon Schaffner. He's a freelancer and works at One Pixel Brush, a company of Shaddy Safadi. In this episode, we are going to talk about how he got into this business, what are the topics he likes the most in paintings. We are going to discuss about his recent talks for games workshop at SAE School in Zurick, how it looks from brief to sketches, and all the way to the final concept. Simon will also tell us what is important to improve your skills as a concept artist, and also how to start if you're a beginner artist. Okay, so let's roll. Everybody knows you, probably in Poland, or in the world. So there can be some people that they don't know you, and they want to know something about you. So could you say 2 words, who you are and why you're so great?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this podcast. It's an honor. My name is Simeon Schaffner. I'm from Switzerland. I'm in my late 20s now, and I've been working as a concept artist for video game industry for about almost 3 years now. And that's basically what I've been doing so far, doing environment concept art. I'm trying to go, to break more into the industry and go from there.
So what do you want to do next? So you were saying like you want to go. You are working for 3 years now in the industry, and what are your next plans?
Well, so far I've just been freelancing for a company called One Pixel Brush. So that's pretty cool, but I guess having different experiences and always trying to improve your art is always a huge deal. So one thing is sort of improving my own personal art, my personal tastes, sort of stuff I really like to do. And the other thing is improving sort of my professional skills, like learning new programs, getting to know the industry, just having high quality work. So that's sort of the other part. And what I really like about sort of the freelance stuff I've been doing now is that you get to work on different projects. You know, there's so many different experiences, but it's really hard to work with people just because you're remote and you don't have direct contact. So you can't really learn directly from people. So I'd like to change that by getting an in-house job somewhere. So where you sit next to people, you know how it is, and you can just give feedback and have a laugh as well.
So your next like vision for working is some in place in a studio.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have some studio in mind?
I don't really. I have to say there's only maybe like a handful of studios I'd like to work for, but mostly it's about, I think, about having the right people in the right place. And also obviously cool projects, but like there's no guarantee for that. I guess, but
So how do you like working as an artist? What do you think about freelancing?
Freelancing is quite hard, especially if you start out right of school doing freelance work, because there's so much to learn. You know, you have to do everything by yourself. You have to do like all the invoices, all the business stuff behind the scenes that gets taken care of by a company. If you're working in-house, you have to do your own taxes, your own insurances and healthcare and stuff like that. So that's quite expensive on one hand and quite difficult to set up. Also depending on where you are, because I'm in Switzerland, there's so much bureaucracy, so much paperwork you have to do. To really, you just have to know your everything in and out, basically.
Yeah,
so that's kind of
from my perspective, living in Poland, Switzerland can be like the most expensive place in Europe, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's comparable to.
You could like live 5 kilometers away from your house and pay the bills outside or something.
Yeah, probably. And there's also a huge difference in Switzerland itself, where you live. Whereas if you live in the city, like it's extremely expensive, and you can move 20 miles outside the city, and it's super affordable. So yeah, that's definitely a consideration as well. And also, as I mentioned before, freelancing is, it's just a different sort of, let's not say approach, but it's sort of a different mindset you have to have. You just have to be a very strong-minded person. You have to be very resilient to all the things that come at you. You have to deal with everything yourself. So you really have to have good sort of friendship and a lot of good friends around you that support you, and that you can basically have feedback from, wherever, whenever you need it.
Yeah, because like maintaining focused at desks for 8 to 12 hours a day, living like by yourself, or sitting by yourself at the desk, it's very hard, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, with like the company I'm working for right now, One Pixel Brush, we have a lot of we have quite a big sort of team that we work with. So we usually do Google Hangouts or Skype calls just during work, so we can have conversations, and bounce feedback back and forth, and look at all the work we're doing, and I also ask questions about programs. If you have trouble with a 3D program or stuff like that, it's super easy to troubleshoot as well. And it just the whole vibe is way different if you're around people, and you can laugh, you can tell cool stories, and then the days go by quite fast. So that's cool.
My first guest here at the podcast was a guy that I met him during like one time of presentation, and he was saying like, this guy, this Shaddy Safadi, or he called him something like this, and he's got like a free course on YouTube. You should totally check him out. And I was like, then I listened to Shaddy, and Shaddy was like, I don't have time to answer your questions because I'm too busy, but you can ask one of my guys that I employ.
Yeah, dude, that's what he does all the time.
Yeah.
He just sends them to us, give feedback, which we're totally happy to do. That's totally.
That's why I have you on the podcast.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
that was the history of this.
Yeah, exactly.
This call.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's cool because like these YouTube videos that you just mentioned from Shaddy on YouTube, these were also one of the first one that sort of actually got you thinking about what you were doing as an artist or as a painter, at least with me. Sort of one of the first sort of courses, quote unquote, I encountered, which was pretty cool because he's such a personality, he's such a character, and he has such a strong opinion on things. Yes. That really makes you think, okay, he thinks or he says this is super important. Let's do it and see what happens, Instead, if you have someone that says, oh, maybe you can do it, it's like Shaddy says, yeah, do it, So.
Yeah, he's very, I think, a warm person anyway.
Absolutely. Such a very passionate guy in any regard. Anything
he has so much energy in his voice, like when he's speaking, even. It's an amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
So. How did you came about working in One Pixel Brush? You said first thing were the YouTube tutorials.
Basically, yeah, that was sort of my first encounter with Shaddy and One Pixel Brush. I didn't have contact with him obviously because I was still studying in Switzerland. But at one point, I knew that I wanted to get more into concept art and really work in that industry. And I was sort of like in year 2 of 3 years of study. I studied illustration, by the way. And I think Shaddy and Eitan, Shaddy Safadi and Eitan Zana, who both worked at Naughty Dog, they were doing workshops, sort of painting workshops and concept art workshops in Santa Monica in the US. And they decided to do one in Switzerland, funny enough.
Oh, no way.
And that was just right after I graduated in October.
Okay.
Where they decided to do a workshop in Switzerland, and I think Shaddy on Facebook asked whether somebody knew sort of a venue in Switzerland where they could hold a workshop, and I was like, dude, that's like they want to do the workshop in next to my hometown. So I messaged Shaddy saying, okay, maybe I can arrange something for you, just out of the blue. And he did get back to me saying, yeah, that would be super awesome. Like, just send me stuff if you know anything. So at that point, I basically knew I was going to go to that workshop, So I worked all summer long on sort of a couple portfolio pieces. And I never expected...
During this workshop or after this workshop?
No, to have something to show at the workshop.
Okay.
The workshop was only a couple days long. So I knew that Shaddy would be looking for people to hire and that he does recruitments at these kind of workshops. But like I never expected to get a job out of it. I sort of just wanted to know where I'm at with my sort of skill level, So I was at the workshop, and then it was actually sort of a 2-part workshop where the first part was sort of like demonstrations and talks of Shaddy and Eitan. And then there was 3 days of plein air painting outside with a smaller group of that workshop. And I was doing that as well. And you know how it is, doing networking, talking to people, just being a nice guy and having obviously a good portfolio. So 2 weeks after the workshop, a couple of weeks after the workshop, Shaddy messaged me on Facebook saying, hey, what are you up to these days? Do you have anything new to show? Sort of teasing me, show him something new. And I was basically doing sort of a new painting at that time. And he said, let's do sort of quote unquote an art test, finish the painting and get some feedback from the people and see where you can take it, sort of the quality bar. And I finished the painting and had some feedback from the guys that were working for him, at the time. And he basically replied with a message saying, yeah, cool, do you wanna start working for me? So that was pretty unreal, obviously, because I never expected it, a couple months after graduating. So that was pretty cool. And ever since then I've been working on different projects and gathering experience after experience and trying to get better, stuff like that.
I had a question, but I forgot. It was something related probably with the paintings. Do you still have them, or like the piece that you were hired by?
Yeah, I do have it. I think it's actually on my art station.
All right.
Yeah, it's one with it's artstation.com/Simeon Schaffner. And I think it's the one piece with sort of a train on it, like a World War II.
All right.
Armored train.
Yeah. That's the nice one. Yeah. I don't say that you don't have nice ones, but it's very, very nice. I've seen it on when you were showing me the first time. I remember this one very much. Yeah. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I hope it still holds up, after so many years.
Yeah.
But I was quite proud of it.
So it's like 3 years ago you did that.
Yeah, basically at this point, yeah.
did you do some kind of 3D with this painting, or it was like fully 2D?
No, it was 3D involved as well. So I did a very simple mock-up of that train you see there. And also I think the figures are 3D as well. And the rest of it was just, trying different compositions by moving the 3D around, seeing what works best, what kind of a story. The rest is just painting and using photo textures. Pretty basic stuff.
For you, I'd say.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it always depends on your skill level or where you're at. If you're a beginner.
Yeah. But what do you think? Because what do you think about when you're making a piece? What's the most important thing to have in this piece? Is it like values? What do you say? Values, composition, colors. What's the number one thing that you would say in paintings for you? Edges.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I think there's sort of a hierarchy within paintings usually, and obviously it also depends on whether it's a keyframe, whether it's more cinematic, or whether it's an environment or character piece. But I think in general it's colors is a huge one, and composition as well. I think these two are, just in terms of technical aspects, these are, at least to me, the most important ones, because they're so upfront. Colors, colors hit an emotional point when you look at a painting, and composition as well, because that's sort of the framing of everything. That's how you present your idea, and obviously the design and everything else has to be good, or at least pleasing to the viewer. But I think composition and colors are a huge thing. And obviously with colors, there's sort of stuff that goes with it, like lighting, that affects the colors in the end. Yeah. But I think that's a super, not only important, but very interesting question, because there's so many different things that the viewer sees, or so many different paths the eye can take, to look at a painting, and so many different aspects that are within a painting. Sometimes the design is more important, sometimes the lighting is more important, or sometimes it's just a story moment that's where the emotional aspect is more important. So it's always kind of a balancing act between making something more important and making other aspects less important. So I think really being able to decide, being able to have artistic decisions made within your artwork, especially beforehand. I mean, you don't want to do like super abstract stuff and then decide, okay, this represents, I don't know, something else. You really want to, especially in the beginning, if you're starting out, you want to have the decisions made from the beginning. What do you want to show? And then decide, okay, how am I going to show that, And that's what I'm always, or still trying to do. Because it's also very efficient.
Because I when I heard like people from other people, what they were saying about things that are the most important for them in such kind of pieces, like Craig Mullins was saying, like the values are the most important thing, like the hues, saturation doesn't matter. The values are the most important, but some other people like doing saying about their stuff that it is more like emotionally driven. So it's like the mood of the setting, like they are artists of the mood or something like this.
Yeah, totally. I totally understand what these people are saying, and it is also like they're not wrong, but it is really about that balancing act and sort of knowing what is most important to you as an artist as well. And obviously all these aspects like values and lighting and colors and everything is interconnected. Like they never go just, oh, I have a value, the values work, but everything else is just, completely out of the blue. It's always interconnected. But sure, in a technical sense, for you to be able to read what the painting is, the values have to be somewhat correct, for sure.
What's your favorite piece that you put on your art station? Because you don't have very much of your work.
Yeah, dude, I've been
you've been
I've
working
been hard at work, doing professional work, so I really sort of neglected my work.
Don't worry.
But I actually like a lot of them still. Sort of the one new one I did of these derelict oil tankers in the snow. That's like my new favorite one, just because it's the most recent one and sort of the one I really had fun with in the moment.
Yeah.
And like everything came together with that painting. It was really cool.
So what's the story behind it? Do you have like a story? Because some people are saying that you should have like more bigger story behind each painting, because it gives like the viewer feels it more.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing with that is that if you just show a literal object, like just by glancing at it for a second, you know what the painting is about. And that sometimes is very boring just because you see it and you know what it is, But if you show sort of more mysterious stuff or stuff that's sort of hidden or that's more symbolic, people have to think about what's going on. And they imagine sort of more of the world around it. And then you have more value to the piece,
So you're saying about the hidden things inside.
Exactly.
Inside.
Exactly.
So what's the hidden story behind it? This piece. What?
So for this particular piece, it was actually done for a workshop. So the story and the setting and the design is kind of generic. But I think it's I wanted to show that these things can be executed quite well as well. And you can do this on on a couple levels. One thing is by not showing everything in the frame, by framing it sort of in a cool way. So having things go out of frame, having things hidden behind things, and just making more abstract shapes with your shapes. Or with your shape design. It's always about making things more abstract, and that way you sort of create like more steps for the viewer to take before they can actually understand the image. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And for this particular piece, it was like that I wanted to show a bit of level design aspects that's always usable in environment design as well. Especially for games, you want to show sort of what the player can do in that environment. So that's an aspect where the viewer sees different things or different objects in your scene, and they can connect these objects with an action. So you see a character in the foreground and you see something in the background, and you can imagine that character going there. That's like the action of actually playing and going into that environment and interacting.
Yeah. So this character is hunting for the balloon. Or balloons.
Yeah, or maybe he's just going to that oil tanker in the background, and maybe he finds something,
Because what's the yellow thing? Are these balloons or what's that?
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of a
balloons,
sort of an air balloon or like a geothermal sort of station, something,
All right. So it's very very cool to see about the kind of light that you're like producing here, because I've seen like this kind of light that focuses on the thing that is the most important thing on the painting, and it's like the light and shadow from that is produced by Sun and the Clouds or something like this.
Yeah, basically, yeah. That's like very, very sort of concept arty, arty farty lighting, you know, where you have like a sort of a slice of light coming in, and it doesn't have to be, you know, very motivated by something, but it just looks very cool. But I think the most important aspect, or why I did that, or why I wanted to show that for this workshop piece, was that it's always cool to have parts of your image that are in shadow and parts of your image that are in light. And sort of the path that the player takes is always led through the light into shadow, into light, and into shadow again, or into light. So it's sort of, it's just emphasizing more of a progression, you know, rather than just, staying in the light all, like, for the whole game, basically, you know. Whereas if you have shadow and light, it's way more interesting.
Okay, so for example, you could walk from here to the next ship, and then you are in the light. So the next part would be what? Going inside the ship into the darkness?
Yeah, maybe, exactly. So there you have the contrast again, from going from light into darkness, and maybe you get out of the ship again and you're in light again, and then you climb up to the next thing, and then you're in shadow of like a huge structure or something.
Okay. That's
sort of emphasizing a progression. And this can be done with anything, you know. It can be done with shapes as well. So you have shapes that are more familiar, maybe like something that is a town, and then you go more into like abandoned buildings or some sort of derelict houses, and the environment changes. It's really all about sort of change and showing different contrasts to where you were before.
Yeah. That's a different kind of contrast that I would think of, because you have like lights and darkness, like big and small contrast. The contrast of saturation, like for example, you have here a yellow thing that resonates throughout this image, I think, because you have mostly blues and reds.
Yep.
And the next thing is like broken and unbroken.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really setting up these contrasts, and I guess I wanted to show in this image as well that yes, you can have generic sort of subject matter, but by showing it in a very good way, you can actually create value for the client. You know, because clients pay you to give them like as much information in one image as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of, especially beginner artists, don't really understand. It's not just about making cool images, but the images you make, they have to have information in them. And to me, that information is something that, like information for basically a production team, you know, that would be making a game. So that would be information about, how can we set up the lighting? How can we set up a cool environment with a story progression? How can I set up a cool environment with different gameplay sort of aspects or mechanisms, and cool design obviously as well. So you basically give information about every single aspect of the game development pipeline to the client.
But you were saying about these different kind of values to the client, but if I would be a client, through this one image, can I say everything that you've said? Like, can I know about this mechanics through this one piece, or you should produce like more kind of images?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you also have to do call outs, you know, sort of isolated paintings of maybe that ship that you see there, you know, so you can show all the gameplay aspects. Maybe the player has to climb up something and then jump off maybe one of the cranes into the water or something, you know. But I guess it's really about, and usually it's the client also tells you, okay, it's a third-person shooter, or it's a first-person shooter, or it's a sort of jump and run game, and they know what information they are looking for beforehand. So they're looking for sort of possibilities where the player can jump, or where the player can climb. And you want to know that. You want to know what the client is looking for and give them what they are looking for. And not just give them, here's a design of one thing and that's it,
So did you have like written, for example, written memo from the client before you started this painting during this workshop?
So for this workshop, it was basically, I was setting up the brief.
The brief.
And I was basically showing the students that how you can generate ideas as well. So by using different keywords, by combining different keywords, by sort of combining design aspects with sort of different environments. So for example, you could have also taken these oil tankers and put them into, let's say, a volcanic environment. And it would have told a different story and would be sort of a different setting. Or you could have made the oil tankers old 17th century tall ships, for example. And it would tell a different story again. So it's really all about combining and mixing and matching cool ideas that are already cool and making something new and unique. And then by changing scale or by changing sort of whether it's a huge space or whether it's sort of a more enclosed space, that way you can create different unique ideas and then go from there. So that was basically the setup for this image. And the rest of it was thinking about, gameplay aspects, thinking about lighting, thinking about sort of creating an idea for a game where you can feel what the game is just by looking at one image. Or you can feel the environment or sort of the level design and the level that you would be in a game just by looking at one image.
Yeah, it's very cool. Do you have some paintings that you did before this one, or can you show them?
Let me see if I have them.
Like the thumbnails, the sketching process, etc.
Yeah, for sure. Can I share my screen?
Cool. Yeah, you can. But I don't know, how can I tell you how to do this?
I think you can on Skype, right?
Yeah, it's like a double square near the heart symbol.
Yeah, just give me a second. Because I have to arrange my desktop so you guys can see all my NDA work I'm bunkering.
Bin.
Let's see, workshop. Okay, screen sharing is, where did you say?
Near, if your version of Skype is closer to mine, it's near the heart symbol. It's like a double square.
Oh yeah, it's these interlaced squares. Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
Is that cool?
Very cool.
So, okay, let me see if I can find it. Workshops. Oh wait, I don't even have to open this one. There we go. So yeah, the first part of the workshop was basically about ideation, how to generate ideas.
Okay.
And as you can see here are sort of different aspects of what an environment is made of, or what a painting is made of. So the theme would be, what is the setting, and the genre of the game, sort of gameplay aspects, mood aspects, do I want it to be dark and moody? Do I want it to be daylight or rain? Then it may be an idea for a set piece. So sort of for a hero object in the scene.
Okay.
And then the environment, is it lava, is it space, is it in a cave, is it in forest? And these are just, you gather different ideas and then you mix and match them together to create new ideas. That was basically sort of the concept behind it. And then the next step would be to do very, very simple layouts and to keep gameplay aspects in mind, because these gameplay aspects, that's what creates sort of a story in your image. It creates more interest, and it's also progression from foreground to the background as well.
That's
so
interesting. Yeah,
if it's like a platformer, like a jump and run platformer, the gameplay is different to a racing game. Do you know what I mean? You have to design sort of differently for these kind of games. And I think that's always cool to keep that in mind, because it just creates more value for the client, and they want to come back to you because you have these ideas.
Would you show to the client also these sketches and the final one, or just the final one?
No, mostly just the final one. It depends on whether you're working with an art director or with just another like random client.
Okay.
If you're working with an art director, sometimes you can show more sketchier images, but usually you want to have something that's more presentable, that's very clear for the client to read. So something like this would be maybe a layout idea that you could show
to the client.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is obviously.
So
it is one thing to do sketches for yourself, sort of working sketches, and another thing is to have presentable sketches for the client.
So these are the thumbnails.
Basically, yeah. Thumbnails to me is sort of a very
more rough,
almost misunderstood term, because a lot of people think a thumbnail is literally like a small representation of your final image. And to me, a thumbnail can be that, but to me, a thumbnail is sort of a sketch, is an idea on paper, is something that you can work with, something that you can mold and try to, I guess it's more of a tool to try to pre-visualize what's going to be in the end,
Yeah, like a 10-15 minutes piece or something like this, but not the final one, like not a 10-hour or 20-hour piece.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can like try different angles, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just to make sure that you're not spending too much time on something that you're not going to like.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. And I really like to have different approaches to before I go into a final painting, and really try to figure out sort of what the environment is and how can I show like different angles, and also what angle is best to tell that story I want to tell. This is sort of a layout. This is like, yeah, exactly. It's like a section view of that environment. And based on this section, I can look at different aspects in here and say, okay, maybe this is a cool picture, maybe this setup right here is a cool picture, or maybe this boat in this wall is a cool picture. It's like you can make more decisions, I guess, just based on one simple sketch.
But this one is purely Photoshop, or is it a 3D scene? Or
No, that's purely Photoshop. Yeah, just very, very simple parts of photos and some painting.
So this is the first stage, and then what you do after this? Do you make it in 3D? Or
no, for this image it was all purely 2D.
Okay.
Yeah, but from here, as I've said, like I can take different parts of this layout and try to see what kind of a story I can tell. So it's sort of trying to figure out something cool within your environment, instead of just saying, okay, I have a finished idea in my head. I can sort of explore still.
So these are the 3 cameras that you thought about doing. So these are 3 cameras, but there isn't a 4th one that was the final piece.
Yeah, totally. This was just for like showing the students what you can do, you know, what the possibilities are. But that's the basic idea. You can make a layout, you know, and then sort of fly around the scene and see what works best. I mean, as you mentioned before, you could do the whole thing in 3D and just use a 3D camera and go through the space and have all the compositions. But for this workshop, I wanted to show everything in 2D because I just think being able to think in 2D is actually way faster, way more efficient, and it just makes you a better artist, in my opinion. But obviously, 3D has its benefits as well, so I don't want to talk down on it at all. Yeah, let me see what's next. Yeah, thinking about
time of day, mood.
The time of day and sort of the mood aspect.
Mood.
Exactly. So whether you want to show your image on a rainy day, or whether it is like a sunset that's super cheesy, or whether it's very, very hot daylight lighting that's almost blown out the values, you know.
So about the desert. The desert is like 12 noon.
Yeah, exactly. But this is more of a representation, obviously.
I heard about the thing about the photographs about National Geographic. That they don't. I don't know who was saying that, but that they don't accept any other photos than on the sunset or sunrise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like everything during the day is boring.
Oh, so they're just going for sort of the golden hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
All right, and they just want these images, like the golden hour images, and everything else is sort of like, trash to them. Yeah, that's interesting.
Must be cinematic, you know. Like
for sure. I mean, it does look great.
Yeah, like normal day at 12 is boring.
Yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
shadows as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So the storytelling emotion, and you have like pieces. That's
yeah. This was like showing a very, very simple technique of
lighting,
using painting and photos together. You know, sort of painting a silhouette and then extracting sort of shapes from a photo and putting them together separately. And that way you have sort of control over light, the shapes of the light and the shapes of the shadow, and you can play around with that.
And the third one is you just painted the light on top of the rock.
Yeah, basically.
Or it was like made from other image.
Yeah, exactly. I was taking another image and I was extracting the lit areas basically with the I think the magic wand tool, and then you can take these shapes that you have there and put it on something else.
Okay.
Because these are shapes that already work.
That's cheating.
You know. these are cool shapes.
Yeah.
And you just have more control over where you put it instead of if you have just one photo, it's really hard to manipulate. If you have multiple photos, you can take parts of each photo and use them separately together to make something new.
I haven't seen that cheating yet.
It's super interesting because it's basically painting with photos.
Yeah, very cool. Because sometimes you think that painting a light onto a rock is very. You must think about the how it's made, what's the 3D aspect, and you just forget about it. You just skip the part.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next step was just bringing everything together, getting good reference photos, getting good textures, and taking your layout, your camera angles that you've decided on, and putting them in your image. And I think one thing that's really important, at least to me, that I found out during your workflow, you always want to create possibilities of design with every stage, with sketching, with choosing your references, with doing layouts. It's always about creating possibilities, about creating more options for you to make more decisions. Do you know what I mean? If you have a layout, you can decide on more camera angles. If you have cooler references, you can decide on how you want to combine them. If you want to sketch in black and white, you can decide on what the camera angle is, what the design aspects are. It's like you always want to constantly create more, not necessarily more options, but you want to create options so you can narrow down what you want to do.
Okay.
It's like basically staying flexible all the way throughout your workflow.
It's like painting with a big brush instead of a small, thin, fine line one.
Yeah, basically, or knowing when to use the big brush and knowing when to use the small brush.
Yeah.
If you start out with a super detailed painting, but you have no idea what it is, then you're basically wasting. You're not only wasting time, but you're wasting your own resource of thinking. You know.
Yeah, and mostly people finish at this stage because they think, oh no, I can't do anything.
Yeah, or they're frustrated. You know.
When you do it like this, you feel stuck, and because you don't know what to do next.
Yeah, exactly, and you feel frustrated because your expectancy and the thing that you were doing, they don't match up. You know. Instead is where you have solid workflow and you know what you're doing at every stage, and you're creating possibilities. Like there's no way for you to get stuck. Because you have always decisions to make, you know, or you have paths. You can take different paths, you know.
Yeah, like starting from shapes and abstract shapes. Even if you don't know what to do next, you can like see through these shapes something else.
Yeah, totally.
That's what I found out. That's pretty cool because even if you don't know what you're doing, you next, like in the second stage, you will know what to do next.
Yeah, for sure. And also, as I said before, you have to just know like at what point in your workflow can you use certain techniques or certain certain tools, you know, like that abstract thinking you were mentioning. I mean, you can use that as well to generate ideas or to generate compositions. But it's you just have to know how to use it, you know.
So you don't start with abstract paintings?
I almost never do. I think it's a good exercise to do abstract compositions because you learn control. You know, you learn to control sort of your own decision making and how you view images. But I think in terms of generating ideas for clients, it's sometimes not necessary because you have lots of restrictions already on an image usually. Like you get a brief from the client, and if you're doing, let's say, 100 different abstract compositions, like there's no way you can fit all your design stuff in there that you'd have to do. So it's just really knowing when to use it and when not to use it.
Cool. I don't know. I haven't got any questions. Any more questions for this piece? I think it's amazing, man.
Cool. Yeah. Cheers. Thanks so much.
Yeah. The I don't know. It's like a road that's guiding, like cable road, that's guiding into the second oil tank. It's very good. It's like a zigzag, but it's not a zigzag.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the zigzag sort of composition is very, very iconic. You know, that's the good thing about it. But it can be very boring as well.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's always do you want to play up the boring parts in an image, or do you want to have the boring parts but play up something that's more important, you know? And I think with this image, yes, you can see the zigzag composition, but I think the thing that jumps at you more in the beginning is the colors and the way, you know, the recognizability of the ship. That's the first thing you see. You see, okay, it's a fucking awesome broken ship that's in this image. And then you can sort of start to deconstruct the image. Oh, there's a zigzag composition. So it's like the hierarchy of these aspects.
It's like on the...
That's important.
Not the first thing that you notice.
Exactly.
I wanted to ask one more question about this piece.
Sure.
About the references. Where'd you get them from?
From Google.
Google.
Yep. And basically that's how I do it for all of my professional work. Is either I use my own references, so references that I shot with my own camera.
Okay.
Or I use images from Google. And the only thing you really have to look out for is if you, let's say, if you use one image from Google from somebody else that somebody else made, and you use it as a literal sort of a representation of your concept. You put a character in and that's it. Because then basically you haven't changed anything of this image to make it your own.
Yeah, but
that's really the aspect about the copyright.
But for example, you have these three ships. So one of them, for example, is from Google. Yeah.
Yep.
It's from like not a free source. Yeah. And you're like free to use it, because every time I hear something different.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how you use the images. If you use them literally, and if you don't change anything, then you're infringing on copyright.
Yeah. For example, you took the ship, you made it yours, but you didn't change anything about the ship, but you changed like whole surroundings of the ship.
Exactly.
Is that okay?
That's totally okay. As long as you make it a new idea or a new aspect and you're highlighting something else, then it's totally fine. I mean, you obviously don't want to do it with like super famous photographers. You don't want to take any Gucci ad and just put it somewhere, you know, in your image. I mean, that's... And also these are the companies that are gonna come after you if they notice it, which is totally fair. But you just want to know where you can use sort of the gray areas, you know, of the work.
Very cool.
Yeah, but if you can use your own reference, then you should use it for sure.
So you're making your own references as well. So so you probably are not sitting in your own town and you're exploring the world, for example.
Exactly, I'm going traveling as well.
So
I have a good camera with me all the time.
So what are your favorite places you visited till this day, and what do you want to visit in the near future?
Oh, dude, that's a pretty good question. Well, I've seen
Thank you.
a lot of different places already, because I had the privilege of being able to travel with my parents when I was young.
Okay.
And we
and you had like also camera.
A lot of different.
Since you were very young.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had like a huge library of this.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You wanna use and reuse all the stuff you've ever done. You can photobash your own paintings. You can do whatever, you know. So you just want to be aware of that as well. So the coolest place I've ever been, let me think. I guess Australia is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's so different than everything else.
It's on the other side of the globe.
Yeah, to me at least, or to us. Yeah. Australia's been super awesome. Also very, very iconic sort of landmarks. I mean, the Ayers Rock, or just a red sandstone, you know.
Yeah.
yeah, the beaches are super awesome. The wildlife is great as well. Fantastic wildlife.
I heard that there are more kangaroos than people in Australia.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's actually a plague in some places. The farmers have.
I've seen like a movie about I think it was Australia. I'm not sure that there was a plague of frogs there, like huge frogs. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, dude. The thing with Australia is that, I mean, it's a country that's not that old in terms of its government. So when they sort of arrived there, I'm not sure what it was, whether they had mosquito plagues or sort of insect plagues, and they brought in the toads to fight the other plagues, and basically the toad itself became a plague. You know, so
the predator.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very
so that's kind of strange. But yeah, Australia is fucking amazing. Go there for sure. And also one thing that also surprised me, like when I was when I went to the US for the first time a couple of years back, I went to California to study at Brainstorm School, which on a side note is super awesome as well. But I had the opportunity to travel California as well, and parts of Arizona, and the landscapes there are just, amazing as well. Yeah, like all the different national parks, Grand Canyon, Monument Valley, Death Valley. There's no way to mention them all, but it's so varied and so grand that it's just mind blowing, and especially the colors of these landscapes. And then you also realize, like, all the paintings of these American Western painters that you see, and all the colors they use, like, that shit actually exists. You know, that's always one thing that fascinates me. Is that if you think at landscape, if you look at landscape painting, sometimes you just think, dude, it's unreal. There's no place that looks like this, and then you go there and it's it's right in front of your eyes, you know.
Yeah.
But there's also like tons of places I haven't been to yet, which.
So you recommend Australia and California?
Yeah, of many places.
Of many places. They are top two places.
Yeah. In the
world.
Top 100 for sure. Yeah.
And the next, like, so you mentioned two things, so we can mention two next things, places that you want to visit. Do you like sunny places or like Viking cold places?
I actually like everything.
Yeah.
And when I go to places that have sun, that have lots of sun and beaches, I actually start to miss the mountains. And the other way around, if I'm in the mountains, I start to miss.
Sometimes you can visit a place that the mountains go inside the water and it's warm as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally. But it's like I like having these different seasons, and I like having the contrast of the seasons and of the environments, you know. So that's really cool. So let's see, two more places I want to go to.
Yeah.
Anything in Asia. There's like
Asia. Sorry.
Freaking amazing places in Asia, and
that's a huge land.
Probably Africa as well. Going to on a safari and seeing the wildlife there, stuff like that.
But Asia, you can go to, I don't know, Dubai, or you can go to China.
Oh, do you want me to be specific?
Yeah. Maybe we will go there. You know, it's like you're saying some things, and then you're like, I forgot.
Yeah, let's say like these super awesome mountains that are in the water, like in Thailand. Yeah, like these are also super iconic. Like these rock formations. I have no idea what they're called. But I think they probably use them as inspiration for like Avatar, you know?
Okay.
Like the floating mountains.
Like they're more narrow on the bottom part than
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
top,
And they stand in
top
the
one.
water, you know.
Yeah, crazy ones. So I wanted to ask you because when you click from the first image on your ArtStation to the next one,
Yeah.
there's some kind of sign that can be known by some people.
Okay, what are you talking about? Let's see.
Next image, yeah, the second one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah,
Oh, I
you
see.
Have, you
I
have
see.
some
what
kind
you-
of logo that some people can recognize.
Yeah, the Uncharted logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that's been a dream come true, that project. I mean, I haven't, as a team, like we've only done like 20 images for that project towards the end of production.
And you took like 5 of them.
Yeah, I had a couple different ones that were pretty cool. Yeah, so we had a chance to work on Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. As I said, towards the end of production, and yeah, just concept paintings of environments, of interiors, and also stuff for in-game cinematics as well, which was pretty cool. So I had the opportunity to do these sort of illustrations for an in-game journal that the main characters are going through in a
I
cinematic.
haven't seen the video here, but in this video you can see the journal. The journal.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's called the Uncharted: Lost Legacy Riverboat Revelation cinematic trailer. I think it was like a trailer that they showed at E3 or something, and it was like
Yeah, amazing.
like on the big screen, and my stuff is like on the big screen. That was
Yeah,
super
nice.
surreal to see.
Yeah. Very
Yeah, so they're on a boat and they're checking out
So
that journal.
yeah. Very cool. So
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, then she takes out the book there.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, just
Very funny.
surreal.
Because my next question was, did anything of this made up onto the game? But you were saying like yes.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
I don't know. I didn't scroll to this video. I don't know why.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, most of it actually made it into the game in some form, because yeah, it was towards the end of production and they needed some help on some props, and we did some designs, and then a lot of these aspects actually made it into the game, which is pretty cool. Totally, to see something that you've worked on be taken like literally into a game, and to be able to elevate like a product and to contribute to something is really good.
It's like
Really good experience.
one to one. It's like everything that you made is like not changed and produced in the game, or is it like a variation of your idea?
Yeah, usually like concept work never gets translated one-to-one into like a video game, because there's always aspects that are going to change, or stuff in production that's going to change. But this image, for example, was done over a block mesh that the client
That they
mounted up.
provided, yeah.
So a lot of the stuff was actually already figured out, and that they were going to keep in the game anyways.
Okay.
So I just basically had to set dress, do some material stuff on it, you know.
Okay.
So and design the statues up top, and yeah, a lot of these aspects. Let's say, I don't know, like maybe 90% of it was sort of taken into the game.
Okay.
Yeah, but it can really depend. Sometimes it's 0%, sometimes it's 99%.
But you had that chance that you worked at the end of this stage of production, so you you had more chances that it will see the light.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
That's
if
true.
you're at the beginning, you don't know if the game will be, I don't know, sold or something. I don't know if it's for Naughty Dog that they don't produce games or something like this. But
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you're working on an IP where you're doing blue sky work and you're, let's say, it's science fiction and you make like a cool water planet, and at the end, when the game comes out, it's a lava planet. It's like,
yeah,
that just happens. But it's all about making like a better product in the end, and making something cool. And it's always a collaborative effort. So, yeah.
So for example, some of the pictures you do also, I think, not by one person, but it's a collaborative process, as you would say, that you do some paintings in more than one person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, first of all, as I said before, there is a sort of a 3D block mesh that was provided to us. That's already...
So already somebody else did that.
Yeah, exactly. So somebody else had their hand in this painting in terms of that aspect. And then you have an art director as well, which makes decisions. Maybe you have friends that give you feedback. And sometimes also you have somebody that is better at a certain aspect than you. Let's say somebody's way better at lighting, and then you hand off your image to this person and that person finishes it. Or you design certain different aspects. Let's say somebody else designed these statues and then you put them into your painting. So it's like these kind of collaborations that happen often, for sure.
Very nice. But sometimes when you have like paintings, you also use 3D stuff. I've seen one of the end works at the end of your page, like for example Discovery. It's called Discovery.
Oh yeah.
You have a few thumbnails in Modo, as I would say.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
The final piece finished. So you work now also in Modo, or did you change to something else?
I'm still working in Modo because I found that, well, I've started out with using Cinema 4D.
Okay.
It was like years back, and then when Modo like had its big breakthrough, I switched to Modo because it was so enjoyable to do 3D modeling in it. It was so good. And I've basically stayed with it until today, even throughout all the Blender hype that's going on.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter like what software you use. It's really about how comfortable you are with it, I guess.
I was working like I don't know, 2 years ago. I started working in Modo.
Yeah.
And I was designing like I don't know. It was like a big city, and I was doing it by just boxes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it also all the time it crashed for me. I don't know. It was like 30 megabytes of 3D scene, and it crashed all the time. I'm not saying that other softwares are amazing at this, but it was only 30 megabytes.
Yeah, for sure. No, Modo tends to crash a lot, so I have to train myself to save often. That's for sure.
So it's still the same. Okay.
It seems so. Seems so.
Yeah, but some things in Modo are amazing. For example, the UVing.
Yeah.
It's like very, very quick.
Yeah, very intuitive as well. Just a bunch of clicks.
For example, because I mostly use 3ds Max, and then in 3ds Max it's not that easy. Or there are some plugins that I don't know that make it so much easier, but no.
Yeah, or you have to use like external softwares or plugins, as you said.
Yeah.
Which is a hassle sometimes as well.
It's funny. When I was teaching myself Modo, it was like I don't know, I've used it for 1 or 2 months, so not a long time. but my friend that at the office found out that Kuchera has some a curse on model as well, so that was really funny.
Oh right, yeah. Sometimes you have to find the right resource, and then you're good.
He was teaching about replicators. Do you use replicators in model?
Only if necessary, yeah, but not on a daily basis, no.
It's a pretty rare thing in 3D software. For example, the replicators.
Yeah, for sure. Although a lot of procedural stuff nowadays gets used to generate a lot of designs. Which is kind of a replicator thing.
So you are saying that the procedural things are the future. I've heard about it because I don't know I don't know what was the podcast. I think Art Cafe. The Kuchera was talking with Ashtor about Houdini and some kind of more. I don't know. The Houdini, the procedural. Do you see that it's used a lot in the games from your point of view? Like
it depends on the games, but let's say in realistic games, it gets used mostly to generate textures and materials.
Okay.
And for, let's say, for more design heavy IPs, you can generate whole landscapes or varieties of plants or even designs for hard surface stuff where you can use procedural things. It's mostly good for shape design. You can generate just cool shit with it that looks good.
Right.
I mean, for sure, it gets used more and more. That's totally clear.
I don't know. Are you more comfortable with 2D or 3D? What do you think? Because you were saying that the better you are artist when you have more when you're more comfortable with I don't know, drawing your scene in on a canvas, for example, not going into 3D, then like doing the shots in 3D. I don't know.
Sort of. I mean, what I'm saying is basically that if you know how to draw and if you know how to visualize something in 2D and with pencil on paper, with the simplest method possible, then you have all the skills necessary to also use other tools, and to be a good artist with other tools as well. That doesn't mean you have to like do a finished environment painting like all traditionally, or just by pencil, but it makes you it just makes you a better artist if you know how to draw and if you know how to
if you would suggest for like a starter artist, what would you say? Learn 2D at its maximum and then start 3D, or learn it simultaneously?
I'd say you have to find the point where you should go into 3D. I'd say start out in 2D. But that's a very interesting question, because I think you have to get to if you start out, you have to get to a certain point in your learning where you feel comfortable critiquing yourself and sort of analyzing yourself. And I think till that stage comes, you should just be drawing and painting traditionally, for sure. But after that stage where you can sort of look at your own work critically, then you can branch off into 3D and obviously take everything to the next level. Because 3D is so easy. There's so much stuff already solved for you. Like, you don't have to worry about the perspective. You don't have to worry about lighting. You don't have to worry about anything, basically. And with 2D, you really have to think on paper. You really have to be in it with all your brain capacity, basically. And you have to learn to control that thinking, you have to learn to be able to make the right decisions. And until you can't really do that, I think you shouldn't be learning 3D.
What do you think if someone would hear us and he's or she is starting with painting? What would you recommend? What place would you recommend to learn from at the beginning?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm totally not up to speed in terms of like what courses or what tutorials are good to use, because I've watched way too many of them, and I don't know like what or when stuff is from. But I'd say just be aware of what you're doing. I think watching tutorials is cool and all, but make sure you also do the exercises that are in the tutorial or in the course. Really sit down and do the work. I think that's really the most important aspect of it, and be aware of what you're doing and trying to do exercises over and over again till you get better, till you see yourself progress.
What do you think about drawing from nature versus drawing from imagination?
I think both is very, very important. Here I'd say also like start out by drawing from nature, by studying nature.
You have some pieces from the nature on your Instagram.
I do have a lot of stuff on my Instagram. Yeah, I do a lot of plein air painting and plein air drawing as well.
What do you focus on when you're like in the air painting? Do you focus on the laptop's battery to not die, or?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Although most of these days I use the iPad, which is my sketchbook. But I think you hit a good point there. I think it's about, especially in learning, I think that one of the most important aspects, and I've touched on it briefly before, is you want to be able to look at your own work with a critical eye, and you want to be able to sort of know where you are in the learning curve. And by that, I'd say when you paint or draw something, you have to be aware of what it is you want to do and what it is you want to learn. Like would you agree that it doesn't make sense to paint something in color if you want to learn to draw, or if you want to, let's say it doesn't make sense to paint a car if you want to study like animals.
Yeah.
It's sort of the wrong exercise to do, So you kind of have to be aware of with which exercise you can learn the most for the aspect you want to learn. And then that takes experience, obviously, to build up. But you want to look for these things, you want to be aware of what you're doing in the moment. And you want to think about whether you actually get better, what sort of the use of the exercise you're doing.
So, for example, when you're doing plein air paintings, what do you focus on? Do you focus on more kind of simplifying shapes, finding the right colors to your scene, changing it, or?
Yeah, all of it basically. So let's say if I'm studying composition, then I want to focus solely on composition. I don't use colors. I don't use complicated value patterns. I just draw super simple compositions. That's all I focus on. If I want to study colors, then I don't want to focus on composition. I want to leave composition out completely, basically, or use a very, very minimal composition thinking. So I just use like an image, and I just draw colors next to each other and see if they make a pleasing harmony, And then once you study all these different things, and to a certain degree, you can put them all together in a painting, does that make sense? Let's say if I'm studying proportion, you actually study proportion. You don't want to study perspective. So you just do side view drawings of the stuff you want to study. Because if you use...
But how it looks like, because when you're saying you're studying color and you're like matching colors, you're just painting what you see, or do you just like match colors on your palette?
Both. So if I want to study how to accurately represent a certain color, I actually try to match it as closely as possible. If my intent is to make an emotional color piece, then I want to experiment with different colors. Then it's all about putting stuff from my imagination, from my experiences onto paper. I might have a reference on the side, but it's like I don't mimic the reference 100%. I change it to sort of the emotional impact I want to create. So it's really all about being aware and knowing where you want to go with what you're doing.
All right.
And the same goes for every other aspect as well.
So do you limit? Do you when you are studying? Do you limit yourself in some kind of way? Do you set the timer, or you're just painting till the sun sets?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like setting timers because it's putting too much pressure on, and I think that's not necessary. But what you're talking about limiting, I think that's what I've sort of been explaining. Yeah, that concept of focusing on something.
Okay.
Like if you're studying, really focus on that thing you're studying and don't do anything else. You know? Like you don't have to do. That's why I don't get people doing master studies. I mean, everybody talks about, oh, you should do master studies, and everybody just copies the master painting. Like that's not the point of it. The point of it is to study why these guys are masters in these different aspects. So let's say Rembrandt is super fucking awesome with lighting. Then you just want to study lighting from him and not something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you have to be aware that this guy's good at lighting and that you can learn from him in that regard. And you just want to focus on that. You don't want to do any details. You don't want to do anything else. Just focus on the thing you want to learn.
So, for example, the things that you did on the Instagram, do you call them some kind of studies or not?
Yeah, they are studies in their own regard. So sometimes it's also like a combination of things. Sometimes I want to just try to make a good-looking painting, you know, or sometimes I want to, just sort of record, I guess, in a way the colors that I'm seeing, or I want to record sort of a certain mood or a certain composition. Sometimes it can be multiples of these aspects or a combination of these aspects, or just a cool moment in itself, you know. So yeah, just by looking at a painting, sometimes it's not clear as to what it is, right? That's basically what you're saying.
Yes, because you don't know what did you study? Did you study light? Did you study the composition? Did you study something?
Yeah, usually with me nowadays, I try to study a couple of things at once, or I try to keep everything in mind but study like one aspect, so I can still try to incorporate the aspect I'm studying into a full painting, or into sort of something that could be a painting in the end. So it's like you're practicing the way you would be doing a client work, basically.
So the latest two ones, the one from 11 weeks ago and the one from 11 weeks ago.
Well, let me see. I'm just going to change.
You know the tricks. You know the tricks.
Yeah, exactly. So I can use my Instagram on my computer. Yeah, which ones are you talking about?
These two ones on the top, the planar ones. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
These two. Yeah. you have a guy and a vase, and these are two done on iPad.
Yeah, these are done on the iPad on location.
And
exactly.
These are more vivid ones than the ones on like the 32 weeks ago. I don't know how you call them. Like more kind of bigger open scenery ones. Could you scroll on the top? Yeah, these kind of ones. These.
Oh, these ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, these ones are from Iceland.
All right.
Like these started on location with sketches, and I also took photos, and then I finished the paintings from
Okay,
the photo
so
reference.
you did like pencil sketches on the location.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then from photo.
Yeah, from photo and from imagination.
Do you have, because I've seen Shaddy did like a cool explanation how to make your laptop go to outside world.
Yeah.
Have you done anything like this?
I have, yeah. You can set up your laptop basically on a simple outdoor sort of stool.
Yeah.
And you have your drawing tablet on your knees, and you can basically paint that way. But the most important thing is that you have a shaded area, and you have a black T-shirt on to limit the
glare,
sort of the glare on the screen. And then you can basically paint outdoors, instead of using an easel and traditional paints. You just paint digitally outdoors.
Yeah. So can I see any of these paintings that are done this way, or you don't have here?
I don't think I have them here, no.
So you, when you have like a study here on your Instagram, it's like from a photo mainly. It's like 50-50. So a lot of them, these ones I started on the iPad, but sometimes it's really hard, either because of the glare or your colors aren't accurate because you can't really judge them on the screen. But yeah, these are all basically finished, except for the top two are finished either from imagination and or photos. Yeah. But I always think it's good to finish them at least partly from imagination, because that's sort of your experience, that you had when you were there, and sort of your emotional bonds to the place. Okay.
And the reference is like, okay, that's just a guide, to guide you to sort of an accurate portrayal of that space.
Do you remember what you changed in the piece?
It's mostly, well, the composition is one thing, because you really have to make a decision on what you want to show, obviously. And the other thing is colors, because that's really the emotional impact that a scene gives. And really trying to cut out unnecessary colors. So let's say if in this environment there were like one or two red plants somewhere, okay, I would just leave them out completely, because it destroys the whole color harmony of the place. So that's my artistic decision to make this.
But the colors are 1-to-1, or you've changed them, like hue, saturation, balance, I don't know, Photoshop, etc.
Well, they should be mostly accurate. Well, they're representing that mood and that time of day that was there.
Okay.
But it's like never 100% accurate.
Yeah. Because you can't color pick them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But mostly it's accurate to what I was experiencing.
All right. So, okay. So you, when you remember some kind of emotion, you can get back to this kind of emotion through your plein air paintings. So, for example, when you did your last piece, you're thinking about some kind of location you went before. Is that correct?
You can do it that way for sure. And if it's a location you haven't been to, like you can use reference photos, or you can like go onto YouTube and look at videos, which is even better because it gives you more impressions. And also you can sort of cross over emotions into other environments. So if it was, let's say, a nice environment, but I had a similar experience or emotion in, let's say, in a jungle, you know, you can just take that feeling that you had in the jungle and try to mimic that feeling in a different environment. Like it's never sort of bound to a location or place for that matter.
Yeah. But it will be harder to translate it, yeah, because in the jungle you have more greens, etc. You have forest or something like this, and when you are in the ice-scape, you are more open. Or
Yeah, for sure. Oh, absolutely. But that was like more of an example. But let's say there was sort of an atmospheric or a lighting scenario that was similar, you know, or a time of day that had a certain mood to it. I think it's mostly mood that really does it. Obviously, if you have a green environment, it's really hard to get blue colors, you know, unless you make the artistic decision to make it more blue, you know. But that's also, like, speaking of making artistic decisions, I guess that's also one thing that plein air painting or studying from nature really teaches you, because you have to simplify so much. You have to really decide on what you want to show, because nature itself doesn't do any of that for you. You know, it's the human that projects meaning into it, and you have to do that by deciding what.
Yeah, you can like compare it with cleaning your room. That we as humans are cleaners of a space. So when we are like making a city, we are not making so random as a nature, but we are like try to make it straight lines. You know?
Yeah, totally. We just try to make patterns and try to make sense, I guess.
Yeah.
And then try to put meaning into it.
Yeah,
and that's also what we're doing when we're looking at images, you know. And that's also where sort of the viewer and the artist are like the same person. Like they want to find the consensus. They want to find the thing that connects the viewer to the
picture,
to the maker, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the whole part of having good visual communication, of having good skills to find that consensus.
What are your favorite artists?
My favorite artist, that's a good one. In terms of concept artists, I'd say all of the people I work with, and number one would probably be Dorje Belbrook. He works at Bungie, and his work is absolutely insane.
You can show them. You can show me and the viewers.
I'll show you. I'll show you. Oh shit! You have to go back.
ArtStation.
Dude, also, maybe like a side note. Yeah, totally. Like I whenever like an artist, like a favorite artist of mine drops art,
you steal it.
I download it and put it in folders. That's what I do. Yeah, so this Dorje Belbrook folder from Destiny.
All right.
And I mean, yeah, if you see paintings like this, that's just mind blowing.
So intense.
You know? And obviously all of these paintings are like a team effort, as we discussed before.
Yeah.
But it's like his execution and his sense of his artistic sense, like is so good.
Yeah, it's but it's also like kind of comparing to yours. It's very overwhelming in details. It's
a lot of it
not
is
a simplification.
Well, it is, simplification doesn't necessarily mean like making it visually or making it simpler physically. So breaking down like 100 things into one thing, but it means just changing it so that the viewer can understand it. I guess that's the simplifying part.
All right.
And what I really like
very,
about
very complex scenes.
Yeah, for sure. But like everything is clear as to what it is, you know. It's lights, it's grime and shit on the walls. There's a design to it. There's cool colors. So simplifying is not actually simplifying. It's just making it more clear. Clarity is actually sort of the quote unquote correct term. But what I really like about Dorje is that he has such good fundamental skills. Like he knows how to draw, he knows how to paint, he knows how to use photo textures, how to use 3D, and he's a really good traditional painter as well. And he knows like how to do cool production drawings, how to design, such just super awesome all around artist. And especially like a couple of these paintings he did for Destiny are just absolutely insane. Yeah, this one, for example. Dude.
Why did you like it? Tell me. Tell me more about it.
It's just good. It's really good on so many levels, you know. I mean, and I've talked before about making artistic decisions. You can actually feel him make artistic decisions, you know. He really shows the stuff he wants to show you. And that's that consensus between artist and viewer. So he really made conscious decisions on colors, you know. I mean, the colors may not necessarily be super photo real, but they're accurate enough to create a mood or to create an emotion for you to understand. Same with composition, you know, same with design, same with showing that huge hand, but not showing the robot that's underneath, you know, creating that mystery and creating more of that world building, more of that sense outside of the image that there's more to it than what you see. And just his texture work, his painting skills, I mean, everything comes together for me.
It's very brave thing to do, such thing as the character, that you have this character, the first one, the biggest one.
Yep.
That it's very close to the edge of the paint of the painting.
Yeah, totally.
It's not thing that normal person would do.
Maybe that's something, I don't know, beginners wouldn't do, but that's sort of a case where you can sort of break the rules if you know how to break them, you know. There's
like a zigzag, but you have very closed thing that you, I don't know, because you might go through this hand and you go, I don't know, between these rocks at the top left.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking about it. You're just thinking about these two guys, or just this one guy that is just staring at this hand, and that's it. Like that's the end of the story behind this whole image. But when you look more closely, you have like some kind of, you can go left or right. It's not very. It's not like I don't know, a zigzag. But you don't have a hero object in the scene, as I would say. That you
I mean the hand is kind of the hero object, I guess.
Yeah. But it's very close. It's not like it's the mission to get there, but it's very close, and when you get there, you do something else anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. I mean that's also what I'm yeah, what I really like about it is just these different aspects that you can have discussions about, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what concept art is. I mean, concept art is also presenting an idea visually, so that a lot of different people have a visual consensus of what the idea is, you know, because everybody has an idea in their head, but once you see it as a concept painting, like, okay, that's the vision, you know, and then you can talk about it. Okay, should we change the colors? Should we change the gameplay space? Should we change the design? And then you can sort of work towards something that everybody likes, you know. I guess concept art in that sense is really a tool, is really sort of a tool to progress the idea that you're having, and to get people to have discussions about it, you know.
Yeah, start talking or inspire. That's what's the mission of the concept artists.
Yeah, absolutely. And also he's really good at drawing, yeah. And also it just, his images look like fun, you know, like you want to go there.
Okay. Have you played Destiny?
I have, yeah. Have you? Too much of it?
I think I have it, but I haven't played that much. You know, I think I've downloaded it, but you're saying that it's very good.
Yeah, in terms of like shooting mechanics and being a first-person shooter, it's super enjoyable for sure. I haven't played enough to be able to say if it's a good game or not. But yeah, in terms of design and visuals and gameplay, dude, it's top notch.
Lots of cool environments in this game, I would say.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, dude. I just played through it just to see all that stuff from the concept art. You know, that's what I usually do when I play games. Just like there's
that's this thing, man.
Exactly. There's so much stuff to see, you know.
Have you played Uncharted to see if there are your concepts or something like this?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. That's actually one of the few games I've played recently, because I don't really play any games in my spare time. It just takes so much time, you know. But the games I worked on, I definitely want to play just because it's such cool.
How long is the Uncharted?
I think the last one is about 6 to 8 hours, probably.
68 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
I think Uncharted 4 was like, I don't know, like 14 maybe?
14?
16? Something like that.
14?
14. 4.
That's not much. But it's intense.
In terms of a like linear single player gameplay, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't play RPGs that are 300 hours long.
Yeah, that's correct.
I'd rather.
You have open world and you can hunt everywhere.
Yeah,
it's crazy. How did you started drawing? What was your first thing that you remember in your entire lifetime? When was the first time that you stole a pencil from somebody and drew something on?
Dude, I wish I could tell you about that, but my memory is so bad. Like, I literally have no recollection of
but
like,
when did you start it? It was like when you were 2 years old?
Yeah, probably.
Not walking, drawing.
Yeah, probably. But the thing is, I mean, I've started pretty early to draw comic book characters, like out of the comic books I read. And I never like read any comic books. I just looked at the panels, at the images, you know.
Right.
And then I just drew, all the comic book characters I really liked, like Lucky Luke, for example, which is super awesome. And then from there, I went on to like draw my own characters and to make up worlds. I mean, at one point I designed like an RPG on paper, you know, and made different characters that had different skills, just for myself to imagine something, you know. So that was like the earliest attempt at doing concept art, I guess.
Your most passion is for environments. How did you came across that this is your passion? Or am I wrong? Am I wrong? Or am I
No,
wrong?
you're totally right. You're absolutely right. The funny thing is, although I started out with characters, right now I'm more into environments. And I guess one aspect of it is that environments are just usually representing of nature, of something that's beyond the human control, that's really natural. So that's one aspect I really like.
That it's more magnificent than us humans.
Yeah, in a sense, and more direct in a sense. Like to me, characters are always very controlled and very designed. Like you have to design them basically. Nature is sort of its own designer, It doesn't have any reason to be anything else than to be direct in terms of what it does, in terms of communication. Like lava will kill you whether or not you believe in it, It's sort of that's what it does, It's cool just because it does what it does. And if you have a character that's like, okay, there was a designer, somebody designed that character to communicate a certain aspect.
Yeah.
So there's already like one step between.
There is a character you don't know if he's going to kill you.
Yeah, but that's kind of
even if he's friend of yours in some kind of game.
Yeah, but these are like intentions of that person,
Yeah.
that person controls. And I guess the other aspect also is that environments sort of encompass like a lot of different things. It's like an overall experience instead of a character is like sort of an isolated experience, Let's say, I mean, it's the same with a level design. Like you can't play a game without a level. You can play a game without characters, but you can't play a game without a level. So I guess that aspect is also very important to me, to create an experience rather than to create like aspects of an experience. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you would say that environments are more important than characters, because character in a game is a person that bought the game, for example, and the environments are the game.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's very interesting, because sometimes, I mean, there always has to be a player for a game to be played, to be experienced. But yeah, I mean, it's basically what you're saying. Like without the environment, you don't have a game. That's like there is, as I said before, like there's mood, there's that sense of space, there's lighting. That's what creates the space. That's what the game is or is played inside. It's like the space you're playing the game in, basically.
Do you think there's one chance for a final question?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Anytime.
Because you might be exhausted by all these questions by now.
Dude, that's totally fine. That's how it goes. But I'm just happy to be here, to have that experience. So yeah, just hit me up with that question, man.
I don't know if it will be that much of a question, but what maybe two.
Sure.
What makes? Do you have something, some ritual? I don't know if it's a ritual or some kind of thing that gets you in the flow of working. Do you brew your coffee, tea? Do you play some kind of music in the background? What is it?
Yeah, there's a couple. Dude, such a good question. There's a couple different aspects. So I have to have music. I have to have background music, preferably just instrumental music, just something super chill for me to sort of be able to focus, and then for me to be able to enjoy the work I'm doing. Like I always try to find something small that I enjoy doing when I'm doing client work. Like maybe sometimes it's the design, like it's such a cool world, I just want to design something, Sometimes it's maybe a technical aspect. Oh, I really want to do this environment in 3D, although I don't like the design of it, It's like you have to find one thing that makes the whole thing enjoyable. that's like one of the most important aspect for me is just I want to be able to enjoy the work because it makes it so much better.
Yeah, just to find like one piece that resonates with your soul.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and,
totally.
and the other things are just a piece of cake.
Totally.
Yeah, I've got one more question. That is very common.
Go ahead.
What I must translate it because I have written Polish, it's very, very hard.
You can also ask in Polish if you want. Don't expect to get an answer.
I should have asked you at the beginning of the talk. Can we talk in Polish?
Yeah,
and I forgot about it. What's the best advice that you would give yourself 10 years younger?
Let me think. That might take a while.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You should thank me that I haven't started with these ones at the beginning.
Yeah. That's really hard, man.
Yeah, I know.
I'd say
if you
always try to figure out what you actually want instead of just doing something, Like try to think ahead, like why are you doing something?
So what's the most thing that you love doing?
Not necessarily. I mean, it also depends on the circumstances, but always try to ask like why you're doing something and not what are you doing,
But for example, during practice.
Yeah, then you should ask why you're doing a certain. Yeah, then you're asking why are you doing a certain exercise? Is that exercise actually going to make you better? Or is it just an exercise that somebody told you to do, So
like using more brain because the creativity is a thing that I haven't got the word, sorry.
I mean, we can also boil it down to, if you really want sort of an all-encompassing advice, then I'd say just think, like use your fucking brain.
It's a thing that it's different from us than computers, that we have a brain and we can think.
Totally. Yeah, and form your own opinion on things,
Yeah,
that's always, especially as an artist, like you want to have an opinion on basically everything, because that makes you unique, and that makes you also be able to do things that other people can't, which is also important, or going to be more important as well in the future when the robots have taken over,
Yeah. It's inevitable. I think.
Totally.
Not. I don't think in the near future, but maybe someday.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're still gonna experience it or not.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We will have some kind of people with cyber brains.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. I don't think if I have any more questions. I would love to ask you probably a ton of more, but for example, there are, I don't know, maybe some chill questions at the end, because you're from Switzerland, right? You were born in Switzerland.
I was.
Yeah. And there are famous people in Switzerland. For example, you might play tennis because of it.
Oh, sort of like, are we playing Who's Gonna Be a Millionaire? Like that game?
I'm not sure.
Roger Federer. Swiss. Totally.
Yeah.
I have played tennis before, but I rather wanted to play soccer when I was younger. So
it's not the national sport in Switzerland.
Playing tennis?
Yeah.
No, not really. No, no.
And
But he's our hero for sure.
and,
He's everybody's.
and for example, this second thing, probably I'm not sure if it's like a very very Polish thing to say, but you also do chocolate and cheese.
Yep,
Is that correct?
that is correct.
And I think people from Poland are asking from the young age the same question.
Really?
Yeah, that if you drill holes in the cheese, like you know.
Dude, that's so funny. No, we don't. I mean, you obviously know
because
the
the
answer.
Polish cheese, you know, it's like flat, you know.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have
sure.
holes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you probably know the answer, but no, we don't drill the holes. They're just they're made from air bubbles, I guess. But you want to know the best thing?
Yeah.
Like I despise cheese. I
You don't-
really
you
do.
don't-
I don't like it at
You
all.
don't cheese.
Yeah, I'm super atypically Swiss
What's
for that matter.
What's the most what are you the most proud of that Switzerland makes? Tell me.
Oh, dude, that's that. Dude, that could be a whole fucking podcast in itself. Probably democracy.
Democracy?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's not make a podcast out of it, but
Yeah. That's the next podcast.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. I hope that you like this first episode. You would probably be in the third one.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
well, thank you much for having me.
No problem.
It's been a real pleasure. Yeah. Also, if anybody like has questions or anything, like hit me up on Facebook or send me an email, and I'm always like happy to help if I have the time. You know.
So you could say what's your email, or how can they find you? How can they
Yeah,
find
probably
you?
just on Facebook is the easiest.
All right. So they can contact you via Facebook to ask
Yeah.
questions about how to get hired in One Pixel Brush.
Yeah, probably, and how to drill holes in cheese and how to make chocolate and how to vote properly and all these kind of things that we do. Yeah.
You totally answer these kind of questions if somebody would ask them. Just
Yeah, absolutely.
just say that
Same. you
watched this podcast and Simeon will answer it very happily.
Yeah, exactly. As directly as possible.
So on that fun note, I think we can end this podcast. So
Cool.
thank you very much for coming. Lovely to have you. I would love to have you in some near future as well. Maybe,
Cool.
I don't know, you would say, Tomasz, please do another one.
Yeah,
I have
dude, if
so
people
much
requested
things to say to you.
We'll see. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.